I would say Prashanth is funding India's dreams. That's the way I would call him. He's the man through Accel has been guiding, advising, and also funding startups which are in India and helping them scale and solve for the world, creating a better world and a better future. Prashanth is a busy man, but somehow I convinced him to come here for this quick interaction because sometimes hearing from Prashanth and getting some of the thoughts that he has helps startups completely pivot or change their direction. And that means a big, big difference. So thank you, Prashanth, for agreeing to be with us.
Yeah, thank you, Jose. Great to be here.
Yes.
I was here on the last time, so good to be here again.
Yes. So we moved to a little bit bigger venue because more people were interested in TIS Summit. So now that I have Prashanth just for 15 minutes, I'm going to, get the maximum wisdom out of Prashanth. So let me start, Prashanth, with one thing. Globally, startups, have different levels. Some are moving up, some are closing, and so on. But in India's case, what do you see in the next 10, 15 years, how this startup ecosystem will further develop? We have seen crazy growth, till now. What will happen next? So, over to you.
Yeah, so, as you know, we are the third largest startup ecosystem. You would have heard this from multiple people. I think what's really changing is the dynamics in between the second largest and the third largest, right? So that dynamics, so there's, really the 2008 to 18 China moment is what is kind of playing out in India in this decade, right? So there was a lot of entrepreneurship fueled by domestic capital, right? So what's the big, I think this happens in all countries. I think while global capital can make a difference and does make a difference, but really the moment that really changes the dynamics in a country is when people within the country start investing into the ecosystem, right? So that capital inflow, that captive capital kind of catapults the country to the next level. And that's exactly what's happening in India. There's about $4 to $5 billion of capital inflow in the country every month into the capital markets. Oh. And yeah, it's 4 to 5 billion, right? So that's much more than any foreign capital that can ever come to this country. And this capital is captive. It can't go anywhere, okay, right? Excellent. So Indians are shifting from investing in, we'll always love gold. I don't think we'll ever get away from gold. But there is a shift in the younger generation from investing in real estate and some of these other assets to, more productive assets, right? So that's one big movement in terms of for startups in the next decade. The broad basing of where startups are coming from, right? So the first decade when we started, so it's 15 years ago that we funded Flipkart, that became the iconic company in this country, right? So in this 15 years, startups have gone from being, only started by people from the elite schools within India, the IITs, the IIMs, startups happening only from the top, like Bangalore, Gurgaon, and maybe Hyderabad, Chennai. I think there's been a more broad basing where startups are no longer, it's the average person from any college, right, with the right aspiration, with the right talent, today is able to really create a startup, get funded, and scale. So, I spend a lot of time in the global south, in Vietnam, in Indonesia, Singapore. The scale of software talent was one thing that powered the country, but it is not so interesting, right? You're still doing what somebody is telling you. Every IT company here was told by somebody in Europe, in US, okay, develop this software. We didn't decide what to develop, what to build. But in the startup ecosystem, every entrepreneur decides what to build for the country. And the first generation of startups was If there was an Uber in the US, you built an Ola. It was what we would call as X of Y, right? But we are also done with that. Now we are building what we believe is required for this country, and the entrepreneurs are able to today
In
take
fact, Namayatri is outside. Yeah.
Yatri, and also the whole Make in India journey, which was a great slogan or thing, because of the global dynamics. So today, the diversification of the supply chains and the China plus one or China plus N is actually a great opportunity where India will no longer be services only. So startups will not only have to build for the country, but the Make in India is about building for the rest of the world. So in many, many ways, there's new capital, there are new global opportunities, and the scale of entrepreneurship, as in the net number of entrepreneurs that India is producing, and which were entrepreneurs who went and built in the Silicon Valley or built somewhere in Europe, are building from India today. And this is the India moment. Yeah.
Great. This is like music to the ear. While everybody was saying, the startup, they would say madness is kind of getting over. I think from what Prashanth
No,
is
no, no,
saying,
we're just getting started.
we are just getting started. So yeah, we will be much more madder in 3-4 years. I mean, this is really exciting, at least for the startups.
No,
that-
actually, it won't be. It's not like, I don't think it'll be a lot matter. I think, there's a lot of learning from the excesses of the last 2, 3 years. So I think people have to realize that hopefully that memory is not very short. I think startups need to be more frugal,
Correct.
have to have business models that are revenue generating, have to, understand that in India, making profits are very difficult, and you need to tap global markets. So all these are, I think, learnings that I hope people don't forget.
Excellent. That was going to be my second question. You see, that's why it's good to sit with a sage like Prashanth. We have learned from some of the mistakes that some startups did with burning too much capital in the name of traction. And so I think those learnings will be in the system. While there is more capital, this capital will be much more intelligently deployed,
Yeah,
if I
yeah.
may say
more,
so.
more frugal and
More frugal and wanting more evidence of success. So I think this is good for the overall ecosystem, because then we are actually paying for solutions that work on the ground.
So I'll give you one industry, right, where when we talk about the geopolitics, how it is playing in India's favor. We all always talk about manufacturing, and we have had this aspiration to manufacture in India. And Salgame was also talking about doing R&D in India, and we should do more R&D. But the reality is, we don't have the ecosystem for R&D. We don't have the spends for R&D. We don't have the educational investments in our institutions for R&D. So what do we need to do? We need to do the Indian Jugaad, right? We need to be able to get the global IP into our country, right? We need to contextualize that global IP for our country, and then leverage now the ability to manufacture in India. And with the partnership from the global principle, we need to be able to then use the Indian now capability to manufacture and repurpose that IP for the rest of the world. So I think there is a shortcut here. We don't have the time to do the R&D in the country. We have because India is a country that has understood how to work with the rest of the world, because India is a country where people have learned how to do joint ventures. So one good example is defense. So if you ask me as a venture capitalist 5 years ago, would I be investing in defense in this country? I would have said, no way. I don't think we'll ever be investing in defense. But just look at the geopolitics in the world. Israel is caught up in its own need for defense. In fact, they are borrowing from India for defense. And we are good friends, so they're supporting. The Soviet Union and whatever, Russia is caught up in its own thing. They don't have any capability to export. So not everybody can buy from China, because if you're fighting China, you can't buy defense from China, right? So India has this moment where we can become one of the biggest defense suppliers for the rest of the world. So just like we did in auto, I think we can do in defense, right? So it's a big, and defense is one of the largest industries. US is very expensive. They have a very loaded cost, defense cost ecosystem, so people can't afford. So India can provide defense capabilities for the rest of the world. So
Yeah.
I'm just giving you the net new startup opportunities which just did not exist 5 years ago.
Excellent. So, I think wonderful themes and lines and threads we can take from there. Capital is available. Entrepreneurs need to be frugal, create traction on the ground, look at the geopolitical scenario.
Geopolitical working in our favor. Yeah.
Exactly. And see what new opportunities are opening up. Because sometimes, that could give you greater traction to convince
So
investors.
also on manufacturing, right, we are seeing that there is, of course, tariffs, global tariffs always play a role in competitiveness. And, I don't think that regime of wanting to diversify from imports from China is changing anytime soon. So India will not replace all of China. I think we will replace a portion of that imports, and the global tariffs will just make our startups more competitive to be able to, participate in that. And the global south needs more capable entrepreneurs, because no one country can replace the type of scale that China has been able to get, right? So you need, so I call it, it's just not China plus one, it's China plus N, right? So N includes India plus Indonesia plus Philippines plus Thailand
Vietnam.
plus Vietnam. And Indian entrepreneurs will build platforms where you'll be able to aggregate supply, high quality supply from the global south to the global north. And why are Indian entrepreneurs better for that? Because you need technology, you need quality, you need great logistics, and all of that is something that I think Indian entrepreneurs will be able to do. And we are seeing, we have startups now that are starting in India, but are aggregating good high quality supply in a platform like approach from the global south for the global north.
Excellent. That's a great insight. I think that's amazing. Moving from independent individual company thinking to a platform thinking, to
Yes.
get people to collaborate, to network, to do that digitally on the fly, to get high quality suppliers in seconds, and then place the order, get confirmation, and make sure that you can serve your client in the global north. I think excellent themes, Prashant. Thank you so much. I think that's a lot of points to take and digest in. I have one next and last question to Prashant. He started almost kind of a revolution, I think last year with a very interesting book. It's called Unboxing Bangalore. And, it just didn't remain a book. It eventually became a platform where there is Unboxing Bangalore as a festival, and a lot of people are doing great stuff. So I just want Prashant to share a few lines of about Unboxing Bangalore and why Bangalore is so important for India's larger growth story.
Yeah, so Bangalore, this is the city I was born in, and I've kind of, have a very close relationship with the city. And I think this is the city which has given rise to the Indian dream, right? So in the last 25, 30 years, if there are 10 things that has materially changed the trajectory of this country, 8 out of those 10 things have emerged from the city, right? Whether it's the first aircraft, whether it's the first spacecraft, the first DPG, the India Stack, the first biotech, the first large startup, everything. In fact, other than the Bollywood and the stock market, which started from Mumbai, everything else is that has materially changed this country has happened from the city that you are in. So I call it, yeah. So we, they could, so the moniker I would like to use is the city of new beginnings. So the city of new beginnings is what Bangalore is, right? Everything that is new kind of starts. So we just funded recently eVTOL, right? Some of you are familiar with this whole idea of air taxis. And the people, the entrepreneurs who are building this eVTOL don't happen to be from Bangalore. They are from Germany, they are from companies like Lilium and companies that have built, that are building eVTOLs in other part of the world, and they want to come and build the next, maybe more frugal air taxi from Bangalore. That's the only way I could imagine solving the traffic problems in the city, right? Is to fund an eVTOL, an air taxi. So, like he was saying, I mean, you have to find solutions that where we build highways in the sky over the next 5 years to solve the traffic problems in the city. But anyway, I think anything new, I can tell you even in the next 10 years, will start from the city. And Unboxing Bangalore, the last plug I will give is for I mean, a lot of you are have heard about the Edinburgh Fest that happens every year, one of the largest festivals in the world. So last year we did the first Bangalore festival, December 1st to 15th. And this year also we have the Bangalore Festival. It's an art, craft, culture, I mean, across the board. We believe that engagement of the city brings in ownership within the city. One of the problems we have had in Bangalore is that everybody has benefited from the city. They take away something from the city, but for everybody, the city is very transactional because everybody is so new to the city. So we need to bring in more ownership into the city, and we need to bring in more engagement within the city. And we are part of the World Culture Cities initiative. We are also trying to build this, Bangalore Festival to hopefully be the preeminent city festival of the Global South. So if ever you happen to be in Bangalore between December 1st to 15th, please participate, and hopefully in 5 years, people will think of coming just to Bangalore just for the festival. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Prashanth. Let's give a big round of applause.
Thank you.
Instead of just complaining about traffic, they're actually doing something. May I request some of our advisory board members, Consul General Jan, Ambika, SK, Jonas, please come on stage. We take a quick